morning or good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Zach Bridges with the Salisbury Fire Department. We're excited to be here with you today. We're kicking off our Blazing a Trail to Literacy program. What that entails is we are encouraging all second graders to read as much as possible. The program involves that we are going to read to you. Within 30 days, we're going to come back and check on how you guys are doing. And then after those 30 days, 60 days total, we're going to see how many minutes you guys have read as a school. Your teacher is going to give you reading logs so you guys can keep track of the amount of minutes that you read per night. And then you will turn them back into your teacher. Once your teacher calculates how many minutes that each individual has read, we have prizes for the first, second, and third place kids for the entire school. The second and third place prizes include gift cards and prizes, and the first place person in the whole school gets to be the fire chief for the day. You get to be the fire chief of the Salisbury Fire Department. You get to come to the fire department first thing in the morning, take a tour of the building, sit at the fire chief's desk. You get to be our boss for a while, and then when it's time for you to go to school, you will get your very own ride in the fire truck to the school. We will drop you off, and we will give you and possibly your classmates some prizes, and you get to brag for the rest of the day that you have been the fire chief for the Salisbury Fire Department the entire day. So we will read to you now. We'll check back with you guys in 30 days, and then at the end of those 60 days, your teacher will give us the names of the winners, and we will present to you guys the prizes. Good luck.
Hey guys, I'm Firefighter Layton with the Salisbury Fire Department, and I will be reading Chester Racoon and the Acorn Full of Memories. Chester Racoon climbed into his tree hollow and frowned. Skittle Squirrel didn't come to school today, he told his mother. Our teacher said he had an accident and wouldn't be coming back. What's an accident? An accident is something that happens that isn't supposed to happen, explained Mrs. Racoon. She lifted Chester onto her lap and folded her warm, loving arms around him. Did our teacher say anything else about Skittle Squirrel? Did she say he died? I think so, said Chester, but I don't know what that means either. Mrs. Racoon thought for a moment. Do you remember what happened to old Mr. Beaver? Chester nodded. His heart quit beating and his body didn't work anymore. That's right, Mrs. Racoon told him. That's what happened when somebody dies. She put a comforting warm arm around Chester's shoulders. That's what happened when Skittle Squirrel died. Oh, now that Chester understood what happened to Skittle Squirrel, his insides felt jumbled, and he was very sad. Mrs. Racoon gently stroked the top of his head. I'm very sorry about Skittle Squirrel, Chester. Chester turned and faced his mother. Skittle Squirrel is my friend, and I want to play with him, he cried. Why won't his body work? Why doesn't his heart beat? I'm afraid that's one of those questions no forest animal can answer. It's like asking who lights up the sun then blows it out, or who collects the pieces of the moon when it disappears, then puts the pieces back when it's full. I know what you can do. Why don't you make a memory of Skittle Squirrel? That way you'll never forget him. How do you make a memory? Asked Chester. You begin by finding something that reminds you of him, the way your piece of tree bark reminds you of the hollow where we used to live. I'd rather have Skittle Squirrel than something that reminds me of him, sniffled Chester. I know you would, soothed his mother. And I know how much you'll miss him, but making a memory of him will help you. She lifted Chester off her lap and wrapped his tiny hands in hers. Tell me what Skittle Squirrel liked. He liked butterflies, Chester said thoughtfully, and acorns. Butterflies and acorns, his mother repeated out loud. And where was Skittle Squirrel's favorite place to play? The butterfly pond? Mrs. Raccoon bent down and kissed Chester on his forehead. Chester's ears twitched and his muzzle blushed. "Let's go see if butterflies and acorns can help us make a memory of Skittle Squirrel, shall we?" she asked him. She led Chester outside and picked up his little brother Ronnie, who had his curious little nose inside the anthill, and walked the two cubs down the wooded path towards the butterfly pond. On their way to the pond, Chester's best friend Cassie popped up from behind her tree. "Where are you going?" she asked Chester. "We're going to the butterfly pond to make a memory of Skittle Squirrel. Want to come?" "Okay, but I don't know how to make a memory." "You find something like my piece of tree bark, only it's not tree bark because it has to do with butterflies and acorns, and it's something that reminds you of Skittle Squirrel." "I can do that," said Cassie. As the four raccoons squired toward the pond, more and more of Skittle Squirrel's friends asked if they, too, could come along and make a memory. Before long, 2 deer, 6 skunks, 3 possums, 14 rabbits, a badger, a bluebird, 6 mourning doves, a green snake, 22 mice, 4 squirrels, a beaver, and 2 chipmunks walked, crawled, slithered, hopped, and flew to the edge of the pond. "I've never seen so many butterflies," chittered Mrs. Raccoon when they arrived. There were butterflies and more butterflies. Butterflies were everywhere. They were over the pond, in the trees, under the bushes, on the flowers, and resting on single blades of grass between the animals' feet. "What do I do now?" asked Chester as a bright purple butterfly balanced on the tip of his nose. "Tell me a story about Skittle Squirrel, Mrs. Raccoon." "What kind of story?" "Something that happened here at the pond." Chester scrunched his nose thoughtfully, and the butterfly flew away. "Once when we were playing here, about a gazillion butterflies landed on Skittle Squirrel, all at the same time. He was so covered in butterflies, you could hardly see his fur. He thought that, with all those butterflies standing on him, he could fly like they do." She took a running start and jumped into the air. When he got to the edge of the pond, he landed splash on his belly, and all the butterflies flew off. He dripped all the way back to his tree. "That's a wonderful memory," laughed Mrs. Raccoon. "Do you have another one?" "One day Skittle Squirrel made us all late for school because a caterpillar was turning into a butterfly, and he wouldn't let us miss it. We all watched the butterfly come out of its chrysalis and spread open its brand new wings. Skittle Squirrel was so excited. He told all the other butterflies what happened, even though they already knew." "That's a lovely memory," agreed Chester's mother. Suddenly, Chester looked sad. One day after school, Skittle Squirrel came here and buried all of the acorns he had collected for the winter. But when he wanted them, he forgot where he had buried them. He really loved those acorns. Everyone in school helped him look for them. "Did he find them?" asked Mrs. Raccoon. Chester shook his head no. Mrs. Raccoon stood up on her back legs and looked around. She spotted a hillside not far away and patted Chester on the top of his head. "I think I know where those acorns are buried," she told him. She pointed to a small group of brand new oak trees growing at the base of the hill. "Those are Skittle Squirrel trees," shouted Chester. When he saw the young trees for himself, the forest made a Skittle Squirrel memory. "I believe it did," said Mrs. Raccoon. "Those trees, your stories, and the butterflies all make wonderful memories of Skittle Squirrel." Chester suddenly noticed a beautiful black and orange butterfly on the ground beside his front foot. When it folded its wings, he saw the acorn beneath it. He gently and carefully lifted the acorn and butterfly off the ground, held his breath, and waited patiently until the butterfly flew away on its own. He clutched the acorn in his front paw and looked up at his mother. "This acorn is the memory I'll take home," he told her. "I'll keep it with my special piece of tree bark. Every time I look at it, I'll think of Skittle Squirrel. It's a beautiful acorn, Chester. It will make a perfect memory." With the acorn securely clutched in his paw, Chester scampered over to the Skittle Squirrel trees and placed a kissing hand on each new tree trunk. "I'll never forget you, Skittle Squirrel. Thank you for being my friend." And that is the end of Chester Raccoon and the Acorn Full of Memories.